Mhm. Hey, everybody. It is your favorite Christian witch here, and we are back with our 5th episode of Trust. Oh my gosh, I almost said my first podcast ever, which was Trust Us We're Hot, but this one is Thirst Trap News. All right, so here's what we got today. Trump's payback continues. One more major cause of mental illness. The IRS is closing soon. The AI police leave Mexico. Federal layoffs have begun. Israel is quitting before we fire them. Where are we on the Bible prophecy timeline? Kris Jenner is no longer seeing a plastic surgeon and is now seeing a wizard. 3 lines to help men solve issues with their wives, and 100 British versus Americans. All right. I'm really curious to get to what the 3 lines are to help men solve issues with their wives and see how right that video is. But we're going to jump into Trump's payback. Just keeps going on and on, folks. We are on TikTok today. So he's pulling that video up.
Breaking news that today, New York Attorney General Letitia James, a major foil of Donald Trump's, has been indicted on at least 1 count of bank fraud. A grand jury in Virginia reached this indictment on the first day they were seated by the newly installed interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, former Trump personal attorney Lindsay Halligan. Halligan is the same interim U.S. Attorney who just obtained a criminal indictment against former Director of the FBI, Jim Comey, exactly 2 weeks ago. He has pleaded not guilty. Today's development follows immense public pressure from Donald Trump to investigate and indict Attorney General Tish James. MSNBC is reporting this, quote, Trump has demanded that Attorney General Pam Bondi prosecute James. Last Saturday, the president called James, quote, scum in a Truth Social post and said she should be removed from her job. He also railed against her, quote, witch hunt against President Donald J. Trump and others, referring to himself in the third person. Tish James prosecuted the Trump Organization in a blockbuster civil fraud suit. She won a judgment of more than $300 million. That judgment was overturned in August. Breaking news that today, New York.
All right, folks. So there you have it. She is caught. She will be indicted by the Attorney General. And no, it has nothing to do with the fact that Trump just told her to prosecute, told Pam Bondi to prosecute. She is a scum, but hopefully tomorrow I'm going as long as all stays well with the news, because there was another, if y'all saw, explosion today where 19 people were killed in a factory. So it's clear to me someone is at war with us. But I would love to react to the Pam Bondi hearing. I watched it yesterday, and I wasn't totally a Pam Bondi fan because I don't like what she said about the First Amendment, about hate speech being a crime. Because it's not. You can only make, really, like, you have to threaten someone's life with speech for it to be a crime. But I could see why they made her Attorney General. She's a whip. She's quick with it, and she doesn't take anything. She doesn't fall for any bait. But they ask her about Letitia James, trying to make it seem like Trump is weaponizing the Attorney General, the Department for the Attorney General, the same way Biden weaponized, his FBI with Comey. So also James Comey, we will be, when that starts, when that trial starts to go on, we will definitely be watching that. But yeah, I don't think just because Trump calls for her indictment means she's a crony of his. That's the same as if anybody knew about a crime in the community and the community saying, arrest them. I don't know. It's not as strong. The hearing is amazing. But I am certainly happy to see that Letitia James is put being prosecuted. I wonder how she will do when she's in jail. Wonder how she'll do without her weave, which is terrible, by the way. So, mental health is important to me. Let's look at one major cause of mental illness we've got going on. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's been scientifically proven that
Oh,
you're
goody,
3
on
times
Jehovah's
more
Witnesses.
likely to develop mental illness if you're a Jehovah's Witness. As a psychologist, that doesn't surprise me. In fact, speaking from experience, the Jehovah's Witness lifestyle and doctrine actually instills mental illness in its members. For example, if you were speaking to somebody with depression and anxiety, these are the symptoms you would see. Fear of the outside world,
Yep.
fear of others, low self-worth, guilt, insecurity.
The fear of others and the outside world is huge. That's what a cult is. They don't want you interacting with anybody outside of it, because then you might start to be woken up to the lies. And then this fear, this guilt, excuse me. As psychologists, it's a phrase called living in the fog. You have to use fear to keep them insulated. You have to use obligation to force them to follow it, and then guilt as the last part. So that way, the strongest card they can use is your soul, so when you have extreme ideology, guilt is a huge thing because you can't live a life that perfect. So it's something you deal with on a daily basis with, being a Jehovah's Witness. You feel guilty for everything you do. Whether your nails are too much of a slutty color, or if your skirt's too short, or, oh my God, like my titties is out. Like my thirst trap news would be so detestable inside that organization.
Shame, dependability on somebody else rather than yourself. And these are the very things that the Watchtower Society holds up as an ideal. They want you to be dependable on the organisation and never yourself, which is why they don't want you to have a career or close friends and relatives outside the organisation.
Yep.
There's actually peer-reviewed papers in psychology which proves that Jehovah's Witnesses are 3 times more likely to develop paranoid schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, and self-harming behaviours.
So I did know a kid that I grew up with who developed schizophrenia, and he really went through it when it came to the religion, always trying to cure him.
So it's no wonder that quite a lot of people require therapy after being
the amount of alcoholics inside of that religion is really high, and the need for antidepressants and anti-anxiolytics
involved with Jehovah's Witnesses, and quite a lot of active members suffering from mental ill health. In my last congregation alone, about more than half the congregation were on medication for depression.
Yep.
That's just the ones that I know about.
Especially the women.
So if you're a Jehovah's Witness who's struggling with mental health, or a former Jehovah's Witness who's struggling with the mental health, you're not alone. My name's Mark Jones. I'm a former Jehovah's Witness and a psychologist. I specialise in mental health, high control groups, and people who've been in abusive relationships. I know how difficult it can be transitioning into the real world.
That is what I specialize in as well. And forensic psychologist, so how it applies to the court of law. Think insanity, please.
That's why I've created this space, not just on TikTok, but on YouTube also. So I've been releasing videos on YouTube. Click the link in my bio, check it out, follow my YouTube channel. I've been releasing more and more helpful content on there for you to recover from the emotional and religious trauma that you may be suffering from. And also to build a positive community, not focused on the organisation, but focused on you and your recovery. Give me a follow.
Yeah, it's important that if you are an ex-Jehovah's Witness, Mormon, LDS, Scientologist, or any sort of high control cult, whether it's religious or corporate, it's important to seek out recovery. to learn how to start thinking in a healthy way, because a lot of times when you come out of that situation, you can have symptoms that are really close to what's called like borderline personality disorder. It can resemble it, or PTSD, CPTSD, and which creates neurodivergence. So it's really important to reshape your brain, which takes a lot of like intense therapy. Medication is only like one half the equation. The therapy is usually dialectical behavior therapy or cognitive behavioral therapy, which is what trains your mind to think more in proportion with your environment. So, when you go through PTSD, traumatic events, or have really unstable parents and end up with borderline personality disorder, you tend to think that everything is like good or bad, the worst ever or the best ever, and that kind of thing. And it's just not everything is on a left, right, up, down, black and white scale. So it teaches you to see the gray area and accept the rainbow spectrum, the gray area of life, and helps just kind of take some of those intense feelings down. So recovery is really important. Okay, so we all know the government is still fucking shut down because of these lovely Democrats. Don't you love them? They're just so great. And Chuck Schumer doesn't even have an answer for it anymore. He just like it's disappeared. So as a result, the IRS is closing soon, folks.
IRS furloughed more than 30,000 workers yesterday, which brought many of the agency's operations to a grinding halt. Despite delays, that October 15th deadline for Americans who got extensions on their 2024 taxes, well, that will still apply.
What Americans can expect is longer wait times, delays and changes to the tax code. The IRS will not be picking up the phone, and we are going to see some backlogs. Now, as you mentioned, one thing that's not impacted is the tax filing deadline of October 15th if anyone deferred their taxes and got an extension. But no doubt, this is just the latest example of how the government shutdown is really impacting Americans all across the country, not just here in D.C.
The IRS furloughed.
So did you hear that? Get your deferral in. So even though the IRS is going to shut down, you're still due on 10/15, and we're one of the ones that we're very worried about this because our taxes got all screwed up from whoever is helping my daughter hide from me. I don't know what to say anymore about this. I really just, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that this video, my opinion, proves to be wrong and this video doesn't age well, but I think they're trying to force like civil unrest. I think they want the people to like get angry and start tearing stuff down. Just seems like a total setup to me, Okay, well, let's check out the AI police.
This is insane. AI-powered self-driving police cars are officially here. Miami just rolled out the first ever autonomous patrol vehicle in the United States, and it doesn't even need a cop behind the wheel. It's called the PUG, short for Police Unmanned Ground Patrol Partner, a Ford Explorer-based robot police cruiser built by Policing Lab and Perrone Robotics. This thing can patrol high-crime areas, it can scan license plates, it can detect stolen cars, and even launch a drone into the sky, all while feeding real-time data back to command centers. It's packed with thermal imaging, 360-degree cameras, and an AI that can recognize patterns, identify suspicious activity, and alert human officers when backup is needed. Officials call it a force multiplier.
So this seems like, okay, it won't be making arrests, but if it has drones, I'm sure it's capable of shooting you. But it seems like this is a spy car, kind of. Like it's going to just do a lot of recon work for the humans.
Designed to enhance officer safety and free deputies from repetitive patrol work so that they can focus on human interaction. Now, for now, it's part of a one-year pilot program in Miami-Dade, where it'll appear at public events as police gather community feedback.
I will not be going to Miami. I don't like this. It's in my state. Yuck.
Now, some see this as the future of law enforcement, others as a step toward sort of RoboCop territory. But one thing is for sure, Miami's newest recruit.
Yeah, it's like Terminator 2. I don't like this. This is like, ugh. So y'all know that covering yourselves in mud makes you invisible to infrared.
Doesn't eat donuts, doesn't take breaks.
Also, aluminum thermal blankets. You can get a pack of 10 for like $20 on Amazon. They fold up really, really small. They're great for go bags, and they also block infrared imaging.
And never blinks. The age of AI policing has officially begun. This is insane. AI-powered self-driving.
Yuck, yuck, yuck. Also, invest in Faraday bags and go skate shooting so you can get good at learning to track your target and lead your shots. All right, if you're in Mexico, leave. Especially if you're American. Loading.
This is a warning to every American, regardless of your political stance and regardless of your skin color. Do not travel to Cabo San Lucas or any other tourist attractive place in Mexico, let alone that the Sinaloa cartel has just released 2 banners that they hung over 2 bridges saying that they are threatening Kash Patel, Claudia Sheinbaum, and the American people who are traveling to their country. This is all caused because of the United States interfering with the illegal substance trafficking into the United States. When I posted that video the other day warning everyone that's planning on going there, I immediately began to receive several messages from Americans that are currently on vacation in Cabo San Lucas. They are reporting to me that the owners of these hotels, the owners of the Airbnbs, are reaching out to them right now, telling them that they need to leave as soon as possible because the Sinaloa cartel is not joking around about this threat. They are going to be coming, and you have a target on your head if you are an American. They do not care about your skin color. They do not care about if you voted blue or if you voted red. They do not even care if you are a Mexican American. If there is an ounce of American in you, you are being advised not to try.
Now, how do y'all feel about that? All y'all waving Mexican flags, talking about you a grandkid of a Mexican immigrant. They ain't gonna give a shit if you, because you American. All you little Mexico people.
Travel to Mexico, especially to its tourist attractions.
You don't come to America and then like want to turn it into like a little version of your country. Because this is exactly why. You will be protected by your new country. And your old country don't claim you no more.
Actions. And a way that you can help us spread this message is not only liking and commenting, but share the heck out of this, because your lives, our lives, are worth looking after. This is a warning to every.
I saw this on the news during Pam Bondi's hearing. She mentions it about how there's a bounty on his head, and there's another, I think there's 2 actually, because one is offering $2,000 for information on Kash Patel's whereabouts and then $10,000 for his head. So I don't know if that is Sinaloa or a different one. I don't know. I think that there might be 2 different ones. But I gotta double check that. So now let's go to the next video, because since, the government is still shut down, Trump's thinking like a businessman. Gotta cut corners. So make sure you call your Democrat senators and blow their phones up, because federal layoffs have begun. Layoffs, not even furloughs. I heard the word furlough float around.
We've got
but I don't think it's true.
Cryptic social media post from the head of the Office of Management and Budget at the White House, Russ Vought, who has posted on X just a short time ago, the RIFs have begun. RIF, R-I-F, stands for reduction in force. Remember, the Trump White House was threatening to permanently eliminate federal jobs as part of the overall government shutdown. Not clear how many jobs Russ Vought is talking about here, where in the federal government they're being cut, if this is the first of a number of waves or what. But this is something that the Trump administration had been using to get leverage over congressional Democrats who, generally speaking, prefer to keep federal employees employed. Of course, conservatives argue there are too many federal employees who are not doing enough work anyway.
Yeah.
So they would be more amenable to cutting the federal workforce. In terms of the details of what this post actually means, I just texted a White House official who responded to me. It seems very self-explanatory to me. So there you go, Scott. They're saying that the rifts have begun. We don't know how many, where,
and look at the ticker right there, too.
Will continue, but obviously this is a leverage point that the White House has been seeking. We've got.
All right. So speaking of the stocks, if most of your money's in a bank right now, pull that out. If you don't have silver, gold, copper, you probably want to get that. There goes my dogs. I don't know why. They know the sound of us. I don't know why he's barking like that. But it does sound like we have a hurricane out of nowhere, and I don't know why Florida weather didn't really report on it, because it's kind of crazy. My house has been flopping over all day long. All right. Israel's quitting before we fire them. Next video.
Breaking news, Israel has just said they do not need the U.S. and they can handle the Middle East on their own. Speaking hours ago, Netanyahu said, quote, "We need a detox from American security in the Middle East." He also went on to say this right here, that Israel may soon need to end the reliance on U.S. aid. If you didn't know, America's #1 aid recipient is Israel by far. He also said,
yeah, that's because they've been seeing all the videos about how pissed we are that our tax dollars are going over there with little notes on the sides of the bombs. Hey, I paid for this.
That from now on, they will not seek America's permission for war in the Middle East, especially with the Houthis in Yemen, and that he is done consulting Trump for what to do in Gaza. If you're wondering what that means, he re-announced today the blockade of food and water into the Gaza Strip with 2 million people. President Trump also canceled his visit to Israel and instead visiting Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE, which countries
a lot of leaders are going there too.
Countries like Saudi Arabia don't even recognize Israel as a country. This is a 3-day Middle East trip. We were supposed to visit Israel, but that's not happening. Trump has said he will not let Israel drag the United States into a war, and instead will be seeking peace with countries in the Middle East, with or without Israel's permission. Breaking news, Israel.
I think you guys, I'm not even going to comment on this too much. I think it's going to be a nice segue into the next 2 videos. And we are going to explore where we are on the Bible prophecy timeline, because that is important, especially if you're Christian. You know, the first half of the Bible explains why the Zionists behave the way they do.
You compare what's happening in Israel today with these 17 signs on our prophetic timeline. But first, we need to begin with sign number 1. When Jesus' disciples asked him, "What will be the signs of your second coming?" he didn't begin with global war or even the Antichrist, although we'll get to that. He pointed to the Jewish temple and said that not one stone of the temple will be left on another. And guess what? 40 years later, that's exactly what happened. Roman armies invaded Jerusalem, burned the temple, and tore it apart.
See, y'all have heard me say it on the other shows. This is what happened to Rome. Watch. It's important. It's going to happen here.
Stone by stone, and it hasn't been rebuilt since. But what's crazy is that the Bible says that one day it's going to be rebuilt. This will make more sense when we get to sign number 4, because sign number 4 is literally happening right now as I'm recording this video. But in order for you to understand it, you first need to know about signs 2 and 3. The Israel you're seeing in the news today is totally unique from every other nation that has ever existed. For this one reason: after Rome destroyed the temple and took the Jewish people captive, Israel ceased from being a nation for almost 2,000 years. But the Bible predicted this was going to happen, that the nation of Israel would be scattered across the nations of the world. And that's exactly what happened. The people of Israel were scattered across the world with no land, no army, and no government. But take a look at what God says next. I will take you, Israel, from among the nations, gather you out of all the countries, and bring you into your own land. Now with this in mind, take a look at this 1998 LA Times newspaper that's starting to
Wonder how he
fall
got
apart.
that.
Half a century after the Zionist dream came true, the Jewish state has emerged as a modern, prosperous member of the world community.
So if you notice, it said half a century. I forgot now that this paused twice. Let me play it.
It goes on to talk about the miraculous events that took place on May 14th, 1948. On that day, Israel became a nation for a second.
That's the year my dad was born and the month my mom was born.
Second time, something that had never happened in the history of the world before, exactly like God said would happen. And this had to happen for the rest of the signs to take place, including some that may be starting to take place.
Also, one thing he didn't show here is, and this is confirmed in Daniel and Isaiah's prophecy, that 1914 was the start of Christ's kingship in heaven and the mark of the last days, and that's about when World War I started.
In the news today. I'm really excited to tell you about those, so I'm going to cover sign number 3 fast. Shortly after sign number 2 happened and Israel became a nation again, many Bible prophecy scholars realized that another war in Israel was about to happen. This is because many of the signs of the end times take place in a Jewish-controlled Jerusalem, and in 1948, Israel only controlled half of Jerusalem, until the 1967 war, when they took full control of the city, setting the stage for the next few signs, which I believe we're about to see unfold before our eyes. In fact, sign number 4 is already beginning to take place as I speak. Take a look at this massive menorah made out of one single block of pure gold. This menorah is sitting in Jerusalem today and was created according to the exact specifications given by God in the Bible for his ancient temple. Many Jewish people in Israel today are preparing to build a third temple, which is why they've recreated a temple menorah, along with many other items required for temple worship. They've even started breeding red heifers, which are one of the
So pay attention to this part, because they are still planning to build this other temple, and it keeps disconnecting. What are you doing? Is it charging? Okay. So, yep. They've sacrificed a red heifer. I think they did it this year on the blood moon, and then they did it 2 years ago. Right before they attacked Hamas, they did that in the spring. I mean, right before Hamas attacked Israel. So we will find out in the next video how Israel was. I'm not at the end of this video, but we'll find out how Israel was, who they were before Israel. But yes, so I can't play you this video yet because he is still working on camera 1. Okay.
things required to purify the temple. As you'll see in a moment, according to the Bible, this temple must be built before sign number 13 takes place. But for
So they have to build this temple, like they're on a timeline. So everything Israel's doing is like very transparent if you're an avid Bible reader.
now, Israel has allowed Muslims to have control of the Temple Mount for political and security reasons. Basically, they don't want to start World War III. Which ironically brings us to the war in Israel you're seeing on the news today, and I believe will lead into the next. Be shocked when you compare what's happening.
So what he was about to say was that he believes it's going to lead us into the next sign. So that is going to be in the next video. But yes, so keeping in mind that they believe they're the chosen people, and that all their wars are basically backed by God. This video tonight is not going to be super long because we are all exhausted, but we are going to play part 2.
In the last days, the leader of Russia will make war against the nation of Israel in an epic battle that takes place on Israel's northern hills. Iran, Turkey, Libya, and Sudan will join forces with Russia in an effort to destroy the nation of Israel once and for all. Europe and Saudi Arabia will question Russia and her allies, but their protest will fall on deaf ears. This Russian-led coalition will come upon Israel.
So if you remember the United Nations summit, everyone walked out on Israel except for the U.S.
With a massive army of troops and attack the Jewish state. No nation on earth will come to Israel's aid. But when it seems like Israel is totally helpless against her enemies, God will intervene. He will send a massive earthquake in the land of Israel. Then he will send them a terrible disease and cause confusion among them so that they start destroying each other instead of Israel.
So, see, they think that's why Israel is acting the way they're acting right now, because they think that they won't fail because of this Bible prophecy, you know, that they're protected by God, and, you know, it's going to be pretty clear that, you know, the U.S. doesn't want anything to do with a war, that, you know, Trump doesn't want to fund that, and the other countries, you know, they already walked out on Israel during the United Nations summit, making that pretty obvious too.
Finally, he will devastate Israel's enemies with rain, hailstones, and fire and brimstone. Then many who are apathetic about God will know the power of the one true God who defends and protects his holy nation, Israel. I know what you're thinking. Does the Bible really say this will happen? How could a book thousands of years old make a prediction about modern nations like Iran and Russia? The prophecy I just described is known by Christians as the Magog invasion. It's a prophecy.
So, the Gog of Magog would be the king of the north, if you're familiar with Bible prophecy.
See that conservative Bible teachers and even politicians like Ronald Reagan believed will literally happen as predicted. What's crazy is that this battle will take place in the last days, right before Jesus returns. And according to many Christians, we've never been closer to this prophecy being fulfilled. Could this mean the beginning of the end of the world as we know it? Okay, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. If you're anything like me, then you're probably still a little bit skeptical right about now, which is why we need to go to the source of this prophecy.
The book of Ezekiel, chapter 38.
Ezekiel 38.
Ezekiel 38.
The Ezekiel 38 war.
This prophecy was written over 2,500 years ago by a man named Ezekiel, who was forced out of his homeland in Israel as a small child and taken to Babylon with the rest of the Hebrew captives. It was in captivity at age 13 that God started speaking directly to Ezekiel and telling him to write down messages that predicted the future. And one of these God-given prophecies is about a bunch of nations coming together to attack and destroy Israel. Listen to what Ezekiel writes. Now the word of the Lord came to me saying, Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh,
so that would be Russia,
Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus says the Lord God, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, the prince of Rosh, Meshech and Tubal. I will turn you around, put hooks into your jaws, and lead you out with all your army, horses, and horsemen, all splendidly clothed, in a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya are with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all its troops, the house of Togarmah from the far north and all its troops. Many people are with you. Now there are a lot of names mentioned in those first 6 verses that sound a little bit weird to you and me, but anyone living in Ezekiel's day would have known exactly who Ezekiel was writing about. Every name mentioned in Ezekiel 38 was a well-known nation in the 6th century BC, except for the name Gog, which we'll get into in a moment.
That's 6th century would be Babylonian times.
Let's see if we can use history and archaeology to locate where each of these ancient nations were located on a map of the world in Ezekiel's time. Let's start with the first nation mentioned, Magog. The text itself says that Magog is located in the farthest parts north of Israel. Watch what happens when you draw a line from Israel to the country furthest north.
Boom.
You end up in what today
Russia.
is called Russia. In fact, the capital of Russia, Moscow, is almost exactly north of the capital of Israel, Jerusalem. But even after learning this, I was still skeptical. Who were the ancient people living in the land we call Russia today? And did anybody at the time know them as Magog? To answer this, we need to do some digging. Literally. Take a look at this ancient mummy. She is known as the Siberian Ice Princess and was found in the last days.
Okay, so there you have it, folks. They are behaving like a bunch of bullies because they believe that they're backed by God as the chosen people, and they will not lose through this war. They will come out victorious. So be prepared. Maybe we should do our own little red heifer. Maybe we should find, our own little ritual to do to offset the vibes, But let's talk about some Hollywood stuff. Kris Jenner. She's not seeing a plastic surgeon anymore. She's now seeing a wizard. Wasn't I just talking about witchcraft? Oh my gosh, how does she look? She looks like she's in her freaking 30s, 40s. Wow. Her hair looks cute though. I love her outfit. Whoever maintains her face, please call me. I need some work. I need this septum straightened out. I need these jowls that I'm starting to go away. I need to also just feel like I'm not tired anymore. So whatever wizard you are seeing, Kris, please send it my way. Okay. 3 lines to help men solve issues with their wives, folks. Let's see what producer Ryan is trying to convince me of.
3 great one-liners for men to use to solve any argument. Relax. Here are 3 great one-liners for men to use to solve any argument. Relax. I love this line for men because it shows assertiveness.
No.
And gives your partner a clear instruction. You're not making sense. This
because you're retarded.
Demonstrates that you've been listening carefully, but also helps your partner realize that they've been unclear. That didn't happen. Sometimes.
And I'm going to gaslight you now.
People misremember things in the heat of the moment, and reminding them of the correct version can help move the conversation forward. Here are 3 great one-liners for men.
Go for it, dudes. Report back to me. All right. Next video. This is going to be 100 British versus 100 Americans. I think we know who's going to win.
100 British people versus 100 Americans. One big room, no weapons. Who's winning?
I'm genuinely not even trying to be patriotic, but I truly believe that against 100 British people, 30 Americans could get the job done and take the W. And to illustrate this, I'm going to draft a very diverse, broad-ranging fantasy team of 30. Here we go. 2 people from Appalachia born and raised among the mountain folk.
Yes.
2 Floridians with a criminal record. 2 blue-collar workers from Boston. 1 drunk Eagles fan born and raised in Philly. 1 Waffle House employee and estate. 1 corn-fed Midwesterner. 1 emo Midwesterner.
Yeah.
That's 10 right there. Then we add 1 grandma from Louisiana, 1 old man from Atlanta, 2 Italian Americans from New Jersey, 1 with mob connections, 1 without, 2 women from the LA area that identify as Chicana and wear gold hoops,
yes.
1 veteran who has definitely committed a war crime, 1 polyamorous person from the Pacific Northwest who still believes everyone should be masking, 1 gay man from Rhode Island who identifies as a bear, and that 1 girl in high school who smoked weed and has a big-ass tapestry in her room. That's 20 right there, which I think could get the job done. But just in case there are any duds, let's add 1 citizen of Texas who refers to themselves as a patriot, one no-nonsense softball playing lesbian, one no-nonsense basketball playing bisexual, one middle-aged dad in the suburbs who directs people pulling out of parking spots, one cowboy, one cowgirl, one farmer, one person from Baltimore, one person from Chicago, one New York City cab driver. That's 30 right there. They're taking it.
Yes. She leaves me with nothing to say. I'm so not entertaining tonight. Y'all, I think that's a solid, MVP list for America. That's who we're sending. I'm glad we have that list documented so that way if this ever does happen, we know exactly who to send over there to whoop 100 British arse. So, we are coming to the end of the show finally. I'm so tired. This is our 5th one. Technically our 8th one. My 28th one, I think, in general. Been going strong. Should be proud of me. All right. I am signing out and going to go have me a little smoky smoke. I'll see you guys tomorrow.